Hey, John. Okay, wait, let me figure out how to do this. Oh, there we go. Is it working? Yes, it worked. Hey, John. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. Now
I
I
like
got
your
you.
hat.
Can
It's a
you,
good hat.
thanks. I made it.
I love
I
it.
went to, thank you. I went to Mount Zion with some of my friends. It was two of my girlfriends. We all three turned 30 this year. So we were like, let's go to Zion National Park and do the whole thing. We got a van again or whatever and rode along it was awesome. It was a great trip. And so I surprised them with all these outfits and I found like patches to describe each person and decorate like made hats for each person and got these like tie-dye outfits and stuff. It was so much fun. I got
I
a picture
love
here.
it. I was just there, in Zion.
Really?
Yeah.
It's the
Oh, it's crazy. The river.
best.
You walk alongside in that
Yeah.
canyon. And,
The Narrows.
yeah,
The
Jerome.
nearest.
Jerome did the Angel's Landing by himself.
Uh,
Oh my gosh. Okay. We
Yeah.
Scary.
Super scary. Look at this man right here. He did it by himself. This guy right here. This guy.
Yeah, Jerome. It's good to see you. So good to see you. Are
Don't
y'all
do
on
it.
tour right now?
Don't do it.
He says, "Don't do the Angel's Landing." Yeah, we're on tour right now.
Okay, we did Angel's Landing, but let me tell you, it was not how we did it the wrong way. Basically, the buses were dropping everybody off saying, this is our last pickup.
Yeah.
If you like miss this bus, you have to walk all the way back. And I think it's like stop 7 or something, or stop 6. I can't remember. But we were like, all right, let's go. And we had 40 minutes. So we were like, let's just knock it out. And hopefully we'll make the bus. So we go up. We're like huffing it all the way up, 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 up. And we get to the point where we realize if we stop now and turn around, we'll make the bus. If we do not stop, we will have to walk the however many miles it is back to the like base camp.
Mm-hmm.
So we ditched the bus. We walked until midnight or something.
Oh
Like
my gosh.
it was like 5 hours. It took so when you're driving in your car, when you're in that bus, you kind of underestimate. You're like, oh, it'll be like 2 miles. Who cares?
Yeah, we got this.
We walked 33,000 steps. We tracked it on our thing. It was wild, but
Was that a record? Is that a personal best?
that might be. I'm sure I have some. No, I had to have had some more, but yeah, that was a lot. So we get up to the top and we're by ourselves. There's no one else on the mountain. Like it is desolate up there. No, not a single human in sight. And we're like, well, guys, if we go up and do this and we fall off, there's not going to be like the people behind us to say the person fell off. Like they're just going to have to find someone. And I start going on the chains because I was like, I'm pretty determined. I want to do this thing. Well, a massive storm blows in and we see like 2 people coming down and they're like, don't do it. You cannot do it raining. It's like the bottom's about to drop out. So I got just to the front part of it, like where the chains start, got like part way up. And then I had to turn around and my friends were like, thank God, you psycho. They're like, why were you trying to do this by yourself? I was like, because it would have been epic. So anyway, We turn around and we meet these 4 guys and they did the same. We were like, well, we either missed the bus or whatever, or we just go back. And they decided, no, we're not going back. So we walked like the 4 hours or whatever it took to get back with those guys. It was pitch black and we were just so grateful we weren't eaten by some random mountain lion or something. But it was a great time.
Falling like off the cliff, like
falling off the cliff.
Gosh.
I know. I'm all about that stuff though. I love it. I wish they had some sort of like jump that you could do. Like if you're up there, I wish there was like some way to
like a bungee
jump
jump
off
kind
of
of
it.
thing.
Yeah, even we
Have
did
you ever
this thing
have you
in.
ever bungee jumped?
I did the gorge swing on Victoria
Yeah.
Falls.
Uh-huh.
So that's
That's
close to
huge.
bungee. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't get not the ones that like go on your ankles, but the one that's strapped to your back and you're kind of
Yeah.
like a flying squirrel.
Yeah.
That was awesome. It was like 400 feet. The drop was like about 400 feet.
That's serious.
It was
I've
really
seen
fun.
that. We didn't have time to do it, but it was like, yeah, there's like a 2 hour wait and we had to get to a show or something, but it was like that's serious. That's some props headed your way for that. That's
I
awesome.
love that. Stuff.
Yeah, I think surfing is like my adrenaline rush whenever there's serious waves. I love to feel like that. I think there's an adrenaline and there's also a reminder of the proximity of death,
Yeah.
which sounds really dark, but I think I have this friend in South Africa who his name's Daigle, and he is convinced that his gift to his friends and his community is to remind them of their own death. He wouldn't say it like that, but he brings them out in big waves beyond their comfort zone. He brought me out there, and he's committed to this idea that in times past, humans lived in constant reality of this awareness that life is short and it's a brief time we have here. How do we want to make an impact while we're here? And so the awareness of our own temporal nature here in these bodies is a gift. Yeah. And so he's trying to give that gift to other people. And I think those moments like bungee jumping or skydiving or surfing big waves, you're reminded of how beautiful this is. This is incredible that we can like walk around in these bodies and have feelings and thoughts and conversations and love each other and I don't know. It changed my whole perspective on those kind of pursuits, that they actually have a meaning beyond just the adrenaline.
I love that. That's when I went skydiving, that's exactly what I felt. That's kind of interesting because I remember my friend had lost her father, and she said she was just in a pretty rough spot, and her father was everything to her, and she said she had to go skydiving. She said I just had to get outside of my own awareness, and she said there was some spiritual experience that happened while she was falling. She said it was almost like God was telling her, just free fall with all of this, just free fall with the weight of everything that you're carrying. And so the next day I did it. I was like, oh, if that's what it was like for you. Like the day after she told me what it was like for her, I went up, and there was something so free. I did have this moment. I said, hey, if that knee-jerk reaction for me to resist getting out of this plane kicks in, I want y'all to push me out of this plane. I want to do it. And he looked at me, he said, the fact that you're telling me this, you are not going to be one of the people that are pushing against me. And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. My brain might trick me once I get up there. I got up there and I pulled him out, the guy behind me. I just pulled him before he even said go. I was like,
you're like, let's go.
And I went, and he was like, you're not obeying any of the rules. Like, I was probably too much, but we had so much fun. But anyway, as I was falling out of the plane, I literally remember this conversation it was almost like being so close to death and realizing that you're so out of control. Nothing that you can do can stop your circumstance. Nothing. If a parachute goes out or whatever. If you are meant to fall, you are going to fall. There's just nothing around it. And there's something so, when I was colliding with that, I thought I would have been paralyzed or like stricken with fear, like that real fear. But instead, I embraced it. I was like, wow, this is what it is. to trust, like to really trust God when you're completely out of control. And so I don't know if that is anything like what you experienced when you were on the waves with that God, but I remember thinking that is the ground below, and I am mere meters or yards away from death if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And I wasn't afraid of it, and that taught me a lot about myself. I think a lot of times my brain says something different, but to see that I actually wasn't afraid of it really shocked me. And then the other thing was knowing, like, full control, God being in full control. There's something really incredible about that to me as well. I have a train going on behind the house. I'm sure you can hear it.
Well, you're gonna hear sound check coming up here wherever we are.
Okay, great.
The funny thing is, when I went skydiving, I was so excited to go, I forgot to put my goggles on, and so the whole time they're like right here, and my eyelids were like flapping in the wind. So I'm like,
no.
Yeah, and so like it wasn't till like halfway through that I'm like, oh, that's a whole lot better. I can see.
Yeah.
What a wild experience. Yeah, and I do think like we live our lives, especially in like this postmodern humanity where we have the semblance of control, where we think we're in control. And I have no control over my liver, my heart, my lungs, my brain. I can't control, is there an aneurysm? I don't know. I have no understanding of the inner workings of how this happens. And yet, and I think that there's like this pseudo intellectualism that because we have some sort of a map of the world, of our body, of the universe, that we know what it is. But the meaning is made, it's made from within, right? Like, where does the song come from? Where does the meaning come from? What does love mean, you know? And there's still so many mysteries that when you are able to step back and surrender that idea of control, the illusion of control, that you're able to say, okay, wow, that actually feels good to relinquish.
Yeah.
Give the keys back, you know?
That's what it was, the relinquish. That's the best word. Because I'm not kidding, for weeks after, maybe I should go skydiving again. For weeks after that experience, I felt like I was just floating because I wasn't concerned with the things that just were out of my control. And worry didn't mean so much anymore. Like, worry actually started to just trickle away because I realized I threw my life into something and it could have gone really wrong. And God spared me in that. Even though there's equipment and things like that. I mean, obviously, but it goes wrong for people. And so how am I not applying that same thing in the scheme of life when it's just simple things that we have to do on a day in and day out basis? I've had a lot of thoughts around that. Just about, I know you mentioned songwriting and stuff, like just being back out on the road. I don't know how it is for you, but for me, there was this moment where I felt the anxiety or the stress knocking at my door. And I was like, we've all just endured the past year as a society. And I think one thing is certain, the things that once mattered don't have to matter the way that they did before.
Yeah.
I think this past year was a good one of those taking out a big wave, like going out on a big wave with your friend. I feel like that's kind of what this last year has taught me as well, of just what are the things that matter. And you were saying with our intellect and all the things that we have at our disposal now, it can create a false sense of control, like it's not a reality. And I think that this past year proved a false sense of safety in a way. We're never as truly safe as we feel like we are. And the second we relinquish the idea of being in control or being safe or anything like that, the more free we actually get to live. It's interesting. It really is. That's something for me to chew on. I like that your friend does that, exposes people to death and tells
Yeah.
them it's a gift, like it's actually a gift.
Well, it's
I
almost like
feel
it's the same
connected to
kind
that.
of principle of like to like when you feel the most depressed or anxious or doubting or just weighed down, like almost sometimes I find that the best way out is to actually serve,
Hmm.
because if you it feels like I need to be served. I need people to give me a hand in this moment. I'm low and I need help up. But then my friend, he whenever he's depressed and anxious and in that state, he will think of someone who might be going through something else and reach out to them,
Yeah.
and try and encourage them. And he finds that brings him purpose and reminds him that he's not alone, even in depression or anxiety.
Yeah.
That was something that for me this last year was really heavy. I felt for the first time I had like anxiety attacks and things where I was like, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one, but I was coming into contact with things that I were really uncomfortable, and the propensity was to feel sorry for myself and to say, oh, I need other people to take care of me, which is, I'm sure there's a time for all of that, but it felt like the quickest, most expedient way out was to actually reach out and love someone else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Which is wild to think about. It feels like that same kind of thought, like you want to really live, know what it means to die, you know?
To die. Well, isn't it interesting that Bible verse that says perfect love casts out all fear? And anxiety is fear at its core. So it's pretty interesting that there's that answer. I would never have connected that. Like, hey, if you go and love on someone else, it might actually cancel your fear. I didn't think of it in that regard. I kind of thought of it more as like when you know love, then you don't have to stay bound to fear.
Right.
But maybe it actually means love people in the middle of your fear, and you'll see it wipe away.
Yeah.
I
Like
don't know.
both ways, right?
Yeah.
If you want to, what is it? If you aim to keep your life, you'll lose it. If you lose your life for my sake, you'll keep it.
You'll gain it. Yeah. It's that reverse kingdom thing.
Yeah.
Like where it's opposite of what you think it would be, or what our carnal expectation would be. You know, you're not alone in that with the anxiety attacks. I had my first one this past year, like first real one. And it was no joke. Almost had to go to the hospital. Like it was one of those gnarly situations. And I've never had that. And it definitely puts a different perspective on people who deal with that on a regular basis, you know? But in the process of, someone once told me, the second you feel alone, that go help someone else. I've heard like my dad or my family will say, the second you feel lonely, go help someone, because then you'll realize you're not as lonely as you imagine yourself to be. And the other day I was having this conversation outside of the bus. That's what I love about touring. It brings about some amazing conversations.
Yeah.
We were outside of the bus, and we talked about, someone asked me, what do you want your legacy to be? Like in a Q&A or something. What is the thing that you care the most about? And I said, I want to do the most that I can on this planet to eradicate loneliness. Like the world is too big and too beautiful for people to walk through it lonely. And loneliness is one of when I am lonely, it's one of my most hated positions. Like and being alone is different. I love being alone, but being lonely is really an interesting place. And, you know, you have so many kids that are bullied and people that walk through really, really dark times and feel alone through their entire life. And so we started this thing called Crew Pass, and one of the first things that people said was how they were really lonely, but met friends through the Crew Pass And one person, like, they go to shows alone, meet at shows just to see Lauren Daigle shows, and to go back. And they created this entire community where they're together. And one of them like moved to the town that another one of the girls was in so that they could just be by each other. And like they found friends in the midst of all this. And I'm like, man, that's the coolest thing. But we talk a lot about how when you are lonely, you feel like you're the only person in the world that's going through it. Or when you are anxious, you feel like you're the only person that's going through it. And if there's a way for us to show, because I can't be every person's everything, you know what I mean? You can't be every person's everything. We can give music and wish for that to be a conduit. But the second other people find other people in the middle of it, that is something really profound. And one of the guys that is on our team came to us backstage and said like he was in a super, super dark time. And he was kind of feeling lonely through what he was going through and super depressed and questioning, you know, his life and stuff like that. And he came out on tour and he said when he realized like he's not alone in the middle of loneliness, it exploded something new inside of him. So it's fun when you see things on the outside take place, and then when they actually translate to the internal as well. There's something really amazing about that.
Yeah.
But I know
music can do that in crazy ways too. Like bringing people together. It feels like this.
I know.
You're tapping into something, you know, that predates most of anything that we've created as modern humans. You know, predates buildings and cars and all of this. You're, you know, singing a song together as a group. It feels like this reminder of the shared humanity. I have a theory. Certainly, we are living in really divided times, and I feel like loneliness is a pandemic. You know, that is kind of unspoken. We spend so much time staring into these screens, looking for connection and longing for connection, and we end up just kind of hoping to find this shared humanity. But I wonder sometimes if being humans in bodies, that we need to embody that shared experience, you know, with each other rather than staring at a screen. You know, this kind of phone experiment, it's only existed for a couple decades, and who's to say whether it's better for us or not, right?
No.
Yeah.
No. I read this article the other day about who knows what's going on with Facebook and all I have no idea. But I read this article where someone said, if this is the end of Facebook, how beautiful it will be to see a tree again. How beautiful it will be to go on walks and care about the things that we should be caring about all along, like the things that should take our breath away, and to actually talk to your neighbors and have a conversation. I'm like, last night I was at my friend's house and walked over, like my neighbor's house, and I walked over to my house. So 3 houses are in between us. It's not far. And in the span of that time, in the span of that space, I talked to 4 neighbors. And it was like, what a gift. What a beautiful gift to be able to just walk along the sidewalk and talk to people. And I started off the day connected to my phone because there's so many text messages and like appointments and all these things. And I was like, gosh, this is the worst. And I felt as my day grew, I was getting more and more stressed and just restless. And it made me want to go back to my phone to have some satiated experience. And then I found myself more frustrated. And my mom and my family, they were going to come over. And I was like, y'all, please come over. Because I know what, I looked at my friends and I said, I don't understand why I'm going to my phone. Clearly there's some form of connection I'm not tapping into. And I got to put this thing down. And my family came over and we had an awesome time. And then I missed every text message for like the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But it's just, it really is interesting how when you don't have the connection to humanity, because that's at the core what we desire, a connection to God, and humanity. Whenever you lack that presence in your life, you'll be glued to this thing, and it only replicates destruction. It's interesting. It never provides a true sense of self-worth or a true place of, I don't know, just seeing yourself in someone else and seeing someone else in you. I think we're designed for that.
Yeah,
That
the shared humanity.
Shared humanity.
And you see the other.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think when you can see yourself in someone else, you can't turn them into the enemy. You can't demonize them or weaponize some difference that you have between you, because you say, no, that's my brother, that's my sister. You know, how do we got to get through this?
Yeah. It's that I keep saying that every night at the shows. I'm like, you know what's so awesome is all you people are up in this arena. And I'm like, here's the deal. You don't know if you're sitting next to a person who you would have fought with on Instagram 4 months ago or 8 months ago or whatever. I was like, we're all in the same room for the same purpose, and I've got you under my thumb. I'm like, at this point, you can't do anything about it. And it is so beautiful that we actually agree on way more than I think the media or the world would have us believe right now. The world
and like I was thinking about it, like my brother and I were talking about it. When was the last time? We have this friend who just recently came back to America. He's been living in Taiwan and all over the world for years. Next door neighbor, we grew up with him, comes back to America, and he's like, America's so great. This is such a great country. Like, what? And you're like, really? He's like, I mean, he's like, sure, the internet, whatever. And he deals with IT all the time. That's his job. But he's like, when was the last time you actually saw a physical confrontation? The way that people behave online is totally different than the way that they would behave in person, you know? And like, and it made me think, and I was like, yeah, like if I take that part of my reality out, like the didactic, binary left, right, black, white thinking, I see kindness. I see people being open and gracious, and sure, there's jerks everywhere, but for the most part, I see goodness, you know, I see the goodness in people. Yeah, every night I do a similar thing where I'll say, you know, if you don't vote like me, if you don't believe what I believe, and it gets really tense, and people are like, oh, where is he going with this? And I'll be like, you are my brother, you're my sister, you know, this is us, this is our night. And, yeah, I love hearing you talk about this, Lauren. Where are you at right now?
I'm in Louisiana. We have a show here on Thursday, so I came home early to be with my family.
The hometown shows, are they crazy for you?
Yeah, it's so much fun. I'm like pinching myself because this venue that we're about to play, I saw one of my first concerts ever in this venue. Like I'd never been. It's called the Cajun Dome, of course, Cajun. And so I have you ever played? I'm sure I've played the Cajun Dome. Have you been to Lafayette?
I don't
it's kind
know.
of a small town.
It's
okay.
I think we might have played it years ago. If I'm not mistaken, I think we got protested there by some people that drove down from, do you remember this, Jerome?
Yeah.
That's what I remember, is I remember going out in front and seeing people protesting, saying, it was that
Westboro.
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 Yeah.
That's far. Yeah.
Yeah. That's that I remember playing there because of that, I think. So
we have had that experience several times. So I relate to your humanness in that experience. But I would say It's one of those hometown shows that I'm excited about because it hasn't happened yet. Like I played the smaller venue multiple times, so I kind of knew what to expect. I've never played this venue before, so it's the one that you drive by as a kid and you think maybe one day I'll be able to play there, and now we're going.
Yes,
So I'm
get
pumped
it.
about that. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
That is so awesome.
I know. Hey, I'm circling back one more time because I'm just really excited about it. I'm glad that you're reminding people of unity because that's what I tell everybody every night. Like, how much does God love? Like, how much is his heart just exploding whenever he sees the people that he created in unity? That is the coolest thing. And it's actually what's going to heal the world. It's the thing that is going to be the binding agent. It's going to be the thing that heals. And that's what I look forward to. I'm glad that y'all are doing the same. I didn't even know. Of course
Well,
you
I mean,
are.
I
Of
think
course
if you look at, I mean, even they will know that you are followers of Christ by your love. It's not by your, it's just this thing where you're like, okay, well, that's humbling.
Yep.
And so the Westboro Baptist, I used to really, whenever we get protest, it was this like, I'd feel horrible because they would say horrible things about me and my family, and they would have a megaphone out front and they'd say horrible things about the people attending the concert. And it's really dark. And then this one time I had this, I listened to this story about this guy. It's a long story. I'm going to dive in and see how we do. But so he has this dream. He's being protested and he has this dream. There's these three guys who show up to all of his events. And they show up and they say slanderous things. They hold picketing signs out front. All of his events, they show up. And then they sit in the front row and they write down what he says and try and use it against him. And then he has this dream. And he's sitting in heaven. And there's God right there. And he's sitting like on the armchair of heaven, like God's throne. He's sitting right there on the armchair. And God says, "You want to see something?" He's like, "Sure." And there's this block of marble that comes out. He's like, "Wow, this huge block of marble." And then these hands start chiseling away at the block of marble. He's like, and God's like, "Hey, they'll work even faster and better if you like cheer them on." So he's like, go for it, you got this, let's do this. And then it carves this magnificent statue, this incredible piece of art. And God says, "Do you want to see who carved it?" I'm getting emotional talking about it. And he says, "Sure, I'd love to see it." And instantly, the three guys that have been protesting show up in his dream. And then he wakes up and he's like, ah. And from that moment on, he would like go out to them and he would give them like waters and just say, "Hey, I'm so thankful you're here. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I love you. And I'm so thankful you're here." And the very next day after I heard that, we were protested by the same people. And it changed my perspective. And I went out there with water. And ever since then, every time that anyone protests, I go out and I bring them things and just say thank you for being here. And I take them to coffee and hear their stories. And it feels like this incredible way to say, "Hey, listen, we share something, whether you deny it or not. I love you. This love, whether it's returned or not, is present and evident." But I hope no one protests. I hope it's the best show of your life. I hope it's
gonna be great.
Hometown epic show.
I have a story like that. And we can I know you have a sound check, so we can get off whenever you need to. Of my friend's daughter, she watched this like scary, it was at, I can't remember, it was pretty dark, whatever that thing was, the something man, it was around like 3 or 4 years ago, and those two kids went to kill themselves. What was that thing?
I don't know.
Whatever.
It
was
horrible
some video.
Scary movies. I'm out.
It was a video. I hate them. It was a video game that all these kids were playing, the something man. I can't remember. Anyway, bottom line is the daughter comes home from a sleepover party, and the mom is like, something's off. And she just, Slender Man. It was called Slender Man. And it was like on the news and stuff because kids were having these like lucid experiences with this man and they were killing themselves. It was horrible. So anyway, all that to say, she's like watching her daughter, and her daughter's never had like a scary night, like where she can't sleep or whatever. That's never been a thing. And her daughter gets up, and she's like in the 6th grade or something, runs to their room in the middle of the night. And the mom is like, hey, why are you afraid? Because she's never been afraid before. She's like, that just hasn't happened. And she was like, why are you afraid? And she said, Mom, my friends were watching this thing and I didn't know what it was. We were just playing a game, and then this man pops up and I can't stop seeing him. I'm like terrified. And she was like, well, let's pray about this man right now. And so she just says, whatever picture God brings to your mind, like, just say it out loud. And she said, as she was praying for the Slender Man or whatever, she sees him sitting on a bench next to Jesus. And she said that Jesus started giving him a hug. And because she was thinking like God was going to like go against him. Oh, I think we lost John. Well, I'll still tell the story. So she ends up thinking, like, the mom is thinking God's going to go and like triumph over Slender Man and all this. And the entire opposite happened. He walked up and gave a hug. And I think that is the beauty of that Bible verse, love your enemies. Because even the things that could be the most toxic, they might just need the love of God. Well, I don't know if our precious John, let's see. I think it's going to let me attach back to him. 1 second. How do I do this? There we go. I think it might work. We'll talk about, oh yeah, there we go. It worked. Anyway, I was saying the end of the story, you're jumping in and out. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi. It might be my Wi-Fi that keeps cutting us off. Are you there? Oh. Let's see. I don't know if it's working. Oh no. I think we're having technical difficulty. Okay, well, y'all, let me just say, for our sweet friend John, I'll tell you what's happening, he is in an arena somewhere or in a venue somewhere, and he's probably surrounded by cinder blocks or walls with not great service. I know every time I have to warm up with my vocal coach, my service is all over the place. So just give all your love to John. Y'all all go and type fun messages and send him something sweet just to know that he's awesome. But we were going to talk to you guys about a place called Earth, and I'll give you just like the quick backstory and then let all of you go back to your lives. Anyway, we wrote this song like 4 or 5 years ago. I was driving around in my car, and I remember hearing this melody and just thinking, God, I long for a place called heaven. And something about that rocket launched this thought of what must heaven be like while we're here on earth. And I didn't know if it was any good, but that, oh, how I long for heaven in a place called earth, where every son and daughter will know their worth, where all the streets resound with thunder's joy. Oh, how I long for heaven in a place called earth. That part, I had started working on, and I was in my first co-write with Jon and his brother Tim. And I remember thinking, I'm going to bring this to light, but this might be the worst idea ever. I have no idea. And as we were in the studio, Jon was like, oh, yeah, let's write it. And I was thinking, oh, yeah, I'm the new kid on the block. Like, he's probably just being kind. It's probably not a good song. Clearly, I had some self-esteem issues. And I was just thinking he was doing it to be kind. And then fast forward 5 years later, he reached out and he was like, hey, I found this old song that we wrote. Do you care if I put it on my record? And I was like, wait, you actually like the song? He was like, yeah, I actually like the song. So he ends up putting it on his record. And I never told him what that meant to me until we were singing it live. And I told him, I was like, Jon, I felt like very insignificant as a songwriter. And I just thought you were being kind and like helping me in my green state. Like, oh, she's so new to this. This is so cute. Because he's written so many songs, probably thousands of them. And anyway, I just remember him taking that song in and really pouring everything into it. And even partway through this writing process, I thought, is he faking this or is this real? And to see all these years later that he honored that song so well and brought it to life in such an incredible way. And then we got to sing it live at the Ryman together, which he flew all the way from San Diego. It was one of the first things he was a part of post, I think it's the first time there since the pandemic hit. So being with him on stage and being able to, that was the first time I'd ever sang that song, ever, outside of the studio. I'd never sang it since that day. And so to sing it live for the first time at the Ryman with Jon was really, really special. And now you all have that recording available to you. So I hope that you love it, and go, like I said, go and give Jon some sweet messages and check out the song, A Place Called Earth. It's come to life in such a new way. I remember writing it when some of the ISIS stuff was going on, and just pulling up those stories and being so sad about the stories I was seeing, and just my heart genuinely grieving. And I met with Jon, and he told me some of the stories that he had heard, and we kind of put some of that into the verse lyric, some of those moments into the verse lyric. And then now it came out in the world that we're living in, for such a time as this. And so I hope that it reminds you of heaven in these times, and that you feel comforted by it. And yeah, I love Jon. I'm so grateful that he shined a light on something that really meant a lot to me. And I'm glad that it had the opportunity to come to life. So yeah, that's the story behind A Place Called Earth. And Jon is a legend, so give him all your love. And we'll be seeing you guys soon. We're both out on the road, so come and see us. We love you guys. Bye. Just have to figure out how to cancel this thing or end it. You know what, Instagram has so many buttons that I don't know what they do. So I need to learn what these buttons do. And one day y'all are just going to see me tapping on all these buttons and think that it's an Instagram live, but it's really just me learning how to use it.